Chapter 11. Many waters cannot quench love. Yelith went out into the desert. She was anxious and anything but sleepy. She wanted to fling herself into Matron's lap and sob as though she were still a little girl. She wanted to cry herself to sleep. But she was no longer a little girl, and her eyes felt dry and burning. She was not used to being out at this time of day. She was not sure what drew her to the desert, because there was no hope that she might see Ariel. He would be in his cave, sleeping. Nevertheless, she walked in that direction, and as she approached, she was amazed to see him lying in the shadows at the mouth of the cave. Although she was certain it was Ariel, she was cautious. She had been certain that it was Ariel when the lion turned into the dragon/lizard Eblis. She whispered, "Ariel." The lion rose, stretched, yawned, then paced toward her. "Oh, Ariel." She flung her arms above the tawny neck, though her tears were spent. "We don't know where the sand is. Grandfather Lamech sent him to get my father. The sand knew that grandfather was dying, so he gave the camel to my father so that he could get back to grandfather Lamech in time, and the sand said that he would walk back, and grandfather died, and everybody was thinking about him, and we didn't even notice at first that the sand was not with any of us, and then we had to bury grandfather, and oh, Ariel, we don't know what has happened." Ariel let her talk. When her voice faded and she pressed her face once again into his fur, he transformed slowly, gently, until she was enfolded in his wings. Higayon has gone to send for him. He left grandfather's grave? For the living, yes. The dead and Japheth will go with him. Oh, that's good. I'm glad. Higayon will be sure to find him, and Japheth will know what to do, and the dead too. Ariel drew her into the shade of the entrance to his cave. "Ariel, my father is going to build a boat, an enormous boat." "That is wise," Ariel said gravely. "For my brothers and their wives, for animals of every kind. Yes, to preserve the species, but not for my sisters, Sira and Hagla, and their husbands and children. Not for Mala and her Nephil baby. Not for me." Ariel drew her close. "Many waters cannot quench love, neither can the floods drown it." His voice was calm, gentle. "What about the twins?" Again her eyes filled. "The seraph's arm was strong as it held her. I do not know. But you know that El told my father to build an ark?" "Yes, that I know. But you don't know about the twins?" "We do not have to know everything. But you could ask." "We have asked." "Are the stars silent too?" "The stars are silent." "Ariel, I'm afraid." "Fear not, I will hold you," he promised. "I am more afraid for the sand and the den than I am for myself. I love them, and they love you. I don't want them to die." "Will they die?" Ariel folded his wings about her. He did not look at her. "I do not know." Sandy slept. He still did not understand his reaction to Tigla and her proposals for escape, but after a while, he stopped questioning himself. When the time came for him to do something, he would know what to do. Daylight was not a good time for escape. Perhaps in the cover of the night, "Twin!" It was Tigla's voice, Tigla's smell. She pecked open the flap. "You have a visitor," she said. He sat up, instantly alert. So her father and brother had come to kill him. But it was Rofakel who came into the tent, bowing low to enter, so that his flaming wings dragged in the dust. Like Sandy, he was too tall to stand upright in the small tent. With swift grace he sat, facing Sandy, staring at him with garnet eyes. His bright hair was tied back, his cheeks white as snow. He thrust out one hand and touched Sandy on the knee. The touch was that cold, which is so cold that it burns. Sandy flinched, but did not cry out. Why are you still here?" Rofakel demanded. Sandy replied in his calmest voice, "I have been kidnapped and I'm being held hostage. If I escape and leave this tent, I will be easily seen. There's no way I can lose myself in a crowd. I am as tall as you are. I make an easy target. Why have you come?" Come? I didn't come. Tigla's father and brother kidnapped me, and I suspect, you put them up to it. Rofakil said, I am not asking why you are here in this tent. I am asking why you and your brother chose to come to this oasis. It was a mistake, Sandy said, as he had said to Tigla. Rofakil again stretched out his hand, again touched Sandy on the knee. Sandy had frostbite one winter, and this was how it had felt. If it was a mistake for you to come, why do you not leave? Sandy said slowly, deliberately, we will leave when it is time to leave. And how then do you plan to leave? How indeed? We will know that when the time comes. You do not belong here. No, I belong with Noah and his family. Rofakil made a noise like a mosquito shrill. You do not belong here on this oasis. There are no giants like you in this time and place. Why do you not have wings? We fly in planes and spaceships. What? The Nephilim did not know everything, Sandy said. We have machines that fly. Can you leave the planet? We have gone to the moon. We fly among the stars. You? I am too young, Sandy said. My father has made several space flights. Did El send you to torment us? What do you think? Sandy asked. You are not of us, the Nephilim. Neither are you, I think, of the Seraphim. No, we are human beings. Mortals? Yes. Then why have you come? It was a mistake, Sandy said again. Would you like me to take you out of this place, this little tent? No? They will come and kill you, perhaps. Noah is unwilling to give up his vineyards. He is quite right. One does not give in to terrorists. You are foolish. I could give him a message if you like. If you ask him, I think he will give up the vineyards. I wouldn't ask him. Then you will die. You like that, wouldn't you? Sandy asked. Perhaps you'd like to kill me yourself? I will leave you. You are insolent. Why don't you like us, my brother and me? You do not belong to our world. You will cause trouble. I think you have been sent to cause trouble to the Nephilim. Rofakil rose. Energy crackled in the air so that Sandy's skin prickled and a mosquito flew away. In a few minutes, Tigla came in. Did he tell you? She was giggling. In the light slanting from outside, the dimple in her chin seemed cleft. That your father and brother plan to kill me, yes, he told me. Not that. She was consumed with laughter. He saw nothing funny. What, Ben? About Noah. He said that Noah is unwilling to give up his vineyards. No, not that either. What then? He was irritated at her giggles. Noah is building a boat. A boat! Her laughter pealed out. Sandy sat up, asked carefully, why is he building a boat? An ark, he says. Her laughter was derisive. The nearest sea or river is moons away. Ben, why is he doing it? Sandy asked. Who knows? Is he building it by himself? Oh no, it's a very big boat. I mean, hugely big. His sons are helping him. He says it is going to rain. Her laughter jarred against Sandy's ears. We have rain only in the spring, and then not much. He is the laughingstock of the oasis. Sandy sat alert, watching her. Rofakil thinks he may be building it to get rid of you. A boat where there is no water is silly. I'm hungry, Sandy said. Oh, I brought you more food, but just leave it with me. She pouted. You don't want me to sit and talk with you while you eat? I'll unbind your hands and feet. I'll manage. Sammy flexed his muscles so that the thongs looked tight. I need to think. About the silly ark? About a lot of things. Well, all right. She left the tent, returned with a bowl of stew. You're sure you don't want me to stay? Sandy was firm. Quite sure. Give up, Tigla. Go. Pouting, she went. He sniffed at the stew. Ugh. It was spoiling. He pushed it aside, worked his hands out of the thongs, unbound his feet. If Noah was already building the ark, there was no time to wait. Dangerous or not, as soon as it got dark, Sandy would leave the tent, head for the desert, try to find out where on the oasis he was being held, and head for whichever was nearer, Grandfather Lamech's tent or Noah's. Then he lay down to rest and wait for nightfall. They have gone too far, Noah said, taking our sand. The family was gathered back in the tent, retreating from the heat of the sun. Ham said, "You're certainly not going to give them the vineyards." Noah shook his head. "I told them that I would not, but now I have already turned one of the older vineyards that needed replanting into a lumber yard. What difference will the vineyards make if they are all covered with water?" Ham said, "We are helping you with this idiocy, Father, because you have asked us to. But surely you don't believe that there will be that much rain? That is what I have been told." Shem had returned from hunting and was sitting on a pile of skins with Selah next to him. "You're sure it was the voice of El?" "I am sure." Elizabeth suggested it couldn't maybe have been the voice of a Nephil. "I know the voice of El from that of a Nephil. They mimic very cleverly. El is El. If one of the Nephilim tried to sound like El, then El would tell me that." Matra looked up from her stew pot. "When will the rain start?" "When the ark is ready." Shem said, "What about our sisters and their husbands and their children?" Noah wiped his hands across his beard. "I am to make a window in the ark and set a door in the side with lower, second, and third stories. El told me that I am to bring in animals of every kind, and my wife, my sons, and their wives." Oholibama's voice was sharp. "What about Yalith?" Noah shook his head sorrowfully. Shem protested, "But it's going to be a big boat, Father. Surely there's room for more than just the 8 of us." "Animals," Noah repeated, "of every kind, so that when the flood waters abate, there will be both animal and human beings to repopulate the earth." "I don't believe any of this," Ham said, "but if it should come to pass, I will give my place on the ark to Yalith." Oholibama looked at him in grateful surprise. "Nonsense," Anah said. "When you build this ark and nothing happens, how are you going to face everybody?" Noah stroked his beard. "I obey El." "And our twins?" Oholibama asked. "What about them? And where's the sand?" Elisheba asked. "Japheth and the den will surely find him," Noah said. Selah raised her trunk and bulged, "and if they do not return with the sand by sunrise, I will change my mind. I will give them the vineyards. When the flood waters abate, I will plant new vines." Ham said wonderingly, You really believe that there's going to be a flood? We don't have enough rain, even in the spring, to be any use. If it weren't for our wells, there would be no oasis." Shem asked, "Has our father ever made a fool of himself before?" "No," Anah replied, "but there's always a first time." Admael, the white camel, crossed the length of the oasis to where Sandy was imprisoned. It was at the farthest end of the oasis, as far from Noah's tent in one direction as was Grandfather Lamech's in the other. Admael did not go up to the tent, but folded himself down on the ground a few yards away to wait. Anachiel, the giraffe, grazed on some tender leaves, stretching his long golden neck. High up in the tree, sleeping during the daylight hours, sat Akatriel the owl, his head hunched into his feathers. Together they waited. Japheth and Dennys followed Higgaion, who trotted, zigzagging back and forth from the outlying edges of the oasis to the desert, sensing, shaking his head so that the hiding sun glinted against his curved tusks, sensing. Back and forth, into the oasis, onto the desert. "The sun is high," Japheth said. "You must find shade, Den." Dennys shook his head stubbornly. His body gleamed with sweat. Japheth looked at him with concern. "We're not far from Grandfather Lamech's tent. Perhaps we'll find Admiral there, and we could ask him for help." Relieved, Dennys panted, "Fine." Higgaion was staggering with exhaustion. There had been no sign of Sandy. Higgaion led the way back to the oasis, his energy renewed now that they had a destination. Japheth was untired, jogging along, breathing easily. Dennys was grateful for his own long legs. Without them, he would not have been able to keep up. As they approached Grandfather Lamech's groves and could see the dark shadow of his tent, Higgaion trumpeted and quickened his pace so that Japheth was running. When they reached the tent, the heat seemed to intensify, and their shadows were dark and squat. Higgaion paused, pointing with his trunk to to light flashing off something half buried in the sand by the tent flap. Admiral! Dennys cried. Oh, Admiral! Japheth bent down and lifted a scarab beetle out of the sand, stroked it gently with one finger, and it seemed to burst from his hand, and Admiral stood before them, blazing gold. Oh, Admiral! Dennys cried. Sandy never came home after he gave Noah the camel. We don't know what happened to him. Admiral bowed gravely, listening, saying nothing. Japheth said, I worry that he may not have gone wherever it is of his own free will. Admiral turned to Japheth. Explain what you were thinking. Since he didn't follow my father to grandfather's tent as he said he would do, that I am afraid that perhaps someone... His voice trailed off. Admiral's wings glittered. You were thinking of Tigla? It was another suggestion. No, Dennys contradicted. We know she's a seductress, Japheth said. No, Dennys repeated. Sandy would never have gone off with Tigla with grandfather dying. Never. Admiral nodded. Of course, he would not have disappeared of his own volition. But where is he? Dennys demanded. Admiral raised his wings, slowly lowered them. What are you doing to try to find him? Japheth did not know of the visit of Tigla's father and brother to Noah's tent hold. We are all searching, but we have found no trace anywhere. Admiral looked at the two young men, eye to eye with Dennys, down for Japheth, small and lean and strong. Japheth continued, Sandy cares about Grandfather Lamech. He cares about his brother. It is not in his character to go off at such a time. Nephilim, Admiral said softly. A ripple of concern rolled across Higane's flanks. Japheth said, That's what we were afraid of, but even they couldn't make him vanish completely, could they? They are masters of illusion, Admiral said. They can make any part of the oasis look like someplace else. They can disguise odors. That is why Higane's sensing was to no avail. But where do you think he is? Dennys's voice soared with anxiety. I think the Nephilim have used human greed. I suspect that some of the less pleasant people of the oasis, perhaps the men of Tigla's tent, have taken him and put him in some little-used tent and are asking some kind of ransom for him. They are acquisitive, but they don't like to work for what they get, and they would be easy to tempt into doing whatever the Nephilim want. Dennys raised his head as he heard the strong beating of wings, and a pelican plummeted out of the sky. And then Alaris stood beside them. The Nephilim are afraid of the twins. His wings shook silver. But why? Japheth asked. The twins are good. Admiral and Alara touched wingtips. Admiral said, The Nephilim fear what they do not understand. Did Higane go all the way across the oasis with his scenting? Japheth nodded. To the far end? Alarin asked. Yes. Try once more. This time, go straight across the length of the oasis and concentrate at the farthest point. They will have taken him as far away from Noah's tent as possible, and they're not likely to have gone in the direction of Grandfather Lamech's tent, Alarin added. Higane's stringy little tail flicked. Japheth said, The sun is high. The dead cannot cross the oasis at full moon without getting the sun sickness again. Both seraphim looked at Dennys, already red and sweating. You are right. The dead will stay here in Grandfather Lamech's tent for the afternoon rest. One of us will stay with him in case. Admiral did not finish. Alarin said, and we will see to it that he gets to Noah's tent hole before sundown. Whether you find the sand or not, you must be home by then. Higane raised his trunk in impatient trumpet. We'll go, Japheth said. He looked up at the seraphim, asking in a low voice, Are you worried? Gravely, they acknowledged the question. In the dark heat of the prison tent, Sandy slept fitfully, dreaming a confusion of meaningless dreams. Tigla was tying his thongs tightly and shoving a bowl of spoiled meat at him. His nostrils twitched. It was not Tigla's smell. It was not even the smell of rancid goat meat. He opened his eyes and saw only a small dark shadow, felt something soft nudging him. He reached out his hand and touched something firm and curved, moved his hand along whatever it was until his fingers felt a roughness. It was a tusk, broken off at the point. His eyes adjusted to the dim light, and he saw that he was touching a mammoth, not Higain or Sela, both of whom were sleek and well-fed, with polished tusks, but an underfed mammoth with stringy hair, and one tusk broken off just at the point, the other slightly farther up. It was nudging him with the tip of its trunk. What the mammoth wanted of him, he was not sure, but it was apparent that it meant him no harm, and that its overtures were friendly. Sandy began to stroke the shaggy head, then ran his fingers over the ivory tusks. The little beast had obviously been abused, so it was likely that it came from Tigla's tent. He was grateful for the company. Perhaps a mammoth, even a mangy mammoth, would be helpful when night came, not so much helpful in the actual escape as in finding Noah's tent hole. Now, he said to the mammoth, fondling the fan-shaped ears, if I only had a unicorn, then I could get out of here. He stopped. Then, hey, I didn't think of a unicorn before, because basically I still don't believe in unicorns. Dennys, he remembered, had summoned a unicorn after Tigla's father and brother had nearly killed him, dumping him into the garbage pit. It wasn't easy for Dennys to believe in unicorns either, but when he had to, he did. If Sandy could believe something as outrageous as that he and Dennys had actually landed in the pre-flood desert, and that they had become so close to Noah's tent hole, especially Yalith, that they were like family, and if he could believe that he was now petting a mammoth, why should it be hard to believe in a unicorn, even if it was what Dennys calls a virtual unicorn? His mother believed in virtual particles, and his mother was a scientist who had won the Nobel Prize for discovering particles so small they were scarcely conceivable even with a wild leap of the imagination. What'll I do? He asked the mammoth, who responded by cuddling closer to him. If Sandy left the tent on his own, they would be lying in wait for him. Rofikil, if not Tigla's father and brother, and they would not hesitate to kill him. Even night would not provide enough cover, with the brilliance of the stars illuminating the oasis. The problem is, he said to the mammoth, that I always have to see things to believe in them. But after all, I have seen unicorns, 2 of them. I have seen them, therefore I can believe in them. The mammoth reached with his trunk to touch softly the boy's cheek. In his mind's ear, Sandy seemed to hear, some things had to be believed to be seen. Unicorn, he whispered, and the mammoth slipped its trunk into the palm of his hand. Unicorn, please tend to life. Please tend to be. Against the darkness of the tent came a starburst of light, and the unicorn stood, trembling, beside him. Oh, you are! Sandy cried. Oh, thank you! He held out his hand. The unicorn came to him with silver steps, floated its delicate legs, and lay down, putting its head in Sandy's lap, so that the light of the horn flowed over the scraggly little mammoth, who lifted its head gratefully. Sandy fondled the silvery mane, soft as moonbeams. Now what? He asked the 2 disparate creatures. The light of the horn glittered, but neither unicorn nor mammoth answered him. If I could fall asleep, Sandy mused, or stop believing in unicorns, that you would lose your tendency to life and go out and take me with you, the way you took Dennys. The problem is that now I believe in you, and as long as I believe in you, you'll continue to be, won't you? The unicorn nuzzled him, as affectionate as the mammoth. As long as I stay with you, Sandy whispered, I think I'm safe, because I'm absolutely certain that Tigla couldn't come near you, or her father or brother. But if they try to, and you go out of being, will you take the mammoth and me out of being with you? If we don't take the mammoth, they'll hurt him again. So will you take us? It was a rather intimidating thought. He had asked Dennys how it had felt the 2 times he had gone out with the unicorn, and Dennys had answered that it hadn't felt at all. But perhaps, Sandy thought, that might have been because Dennys had sunstroke and a high fever. But he remembered Grandfather Lamech, or was it Japheth, telling him that unicorns never lost anybody. He put one arm above the unicorn, the other above the mammoth, and waited. This was a far better plan than going with Tigla or trying to cross the desert alone. You see, he said to the two creatures who pressed confidingly against him, when the time came for me to do something, I knew what to do, and I did it. He held unicorn and mammoth close. The Nephilim gathered, proud, arrogant, flickering in and out of their hosts as they spoke. Raphael the mosquito said, I have put an illusion around the tent. It is on the edge of the desert at the farthest end of the oasis, but the illusion makes it look as though it is surrounded by flocks and groves. Eblis the dragon/lizard asked, are giant twins worth as much trouble? Raphael answered, I think they know something we do not know. When I questioned the one that Tigla caught for me, he gave evasive answers. Ugil the cobra said, there is danger in the air. The stars are drawing back. I am concerned for my baby. Nama, the vulture went, shh. We chose to be silent with El. We chose never to hear the voice again, never to speak with the presence. Ertrel the rat said, we could ask the seraphim. Never, said Estelle the cockroach. But they still speak with El. Ertrel said, the stars still talk with them. I do not care to listen to the stars. Ashef the crocodile pronounced. They might tell us, said Rumjaw the red ant, whether or not we are in danger. How can we be in danger? Eblis asked. We are immortal. And the one we caught, said Raphael, told me that he is mortal, if he is to be believed. Nama the vulture clacked his beak. I smell that there will soon be much for us to eat. How? Raphael demanded. What is going to happen? Eblis the dragon/lizard asked, will someone tell me what Noah is building? A good question, said Rumiel the slug. Raphael gave a screeching laugh. A boat! That is what my Tigla tells me. He is building a boat. A boat? Ashif the crocodile demanded. Why on earth would he build a boat? Rosiel the worm asked, could the twin giants have told him something that we do not know? Raphael said, we need to get rid of the twin giants. Everything has been different since they came. Noah reconciled with his father, said Nama the vulture, and Lamech has died, Estiel the cockroach agreed. My lovely Yelith prefers the young giants to me, Eblis said. They must have some strange power to make her turn from me to such soft-skinned, wingless creatures. And Noah is building a boat, Raphael added, and Matron weeps, said Rumjaw the red ant. We should find out, Ugil suggested, whether or not they, the young giants, are truly mortal or not. Raphael screeched again. Tigla's father and brother will find that out for us. Higain finally found the tent where Sandy was imprisoned, because the unicorn was there. Raphael's power of illusion had indeed made the tent seem to be in the middle of the oasis, had indeed altered Sandy's sense, but the unicorn had come to the tent after the illusion was set. Higain sniffed. He smelled silver, and he smelled light. He nudged Japheth excitedly. Tentatively, Japheth pushed open the tent flap. Enough of the late afternoon light came from the tent hole so that he could see Sandy and the unicorn, their heads together in affection. The abused mammoth was only a dark shadow under Sandy's arm. Sand! Sandy opened his eyes. Jay! The young man started to rush forward to embrace him, but stopped short as though held by some invisible barrier. The unicorn's light brightened. Higain followed Japheth into the tent, sitting back on his haunches in surprise as he saw the mammoth who pressed closely against Sandy, blinking fearfully. Sandy's protective arm tightened. It's all right. Nobody's going to hurt you. Then, Jay, how did you find me? Are you all right? Japheth asked anxiously. Oh, I'm fine, but Tigla's father and brother want to kill me. No. Japheth touched his finger to his tiny bow. No, Sand. And look what they've done to their mammoth, Sandy said indignantly. They've nearly starved him, and they've broken his tusks. All right, Japheth said hurriedly. We'll take him with us, but we better get out of here before they come back. I think I'm safe as long as I'm with the unicorn, Sandy said, because they won't be able to come near. Japheth smiled. I can't either. He stared at the boy and unicorn. Sand, do you remember when I first met you in the den in the desert and we called unicorns? The den went out? Of course I remember. Can't you go out with the unicorn now? Sandy sighed. The problem is, Jay, that I believe in the unicorn. The mangy mammoth suddenly pricked up its ears and started to whimper. Higayon pushed himself up onto his feet, and Japheth swung around to see the tent flap open violently. Two small, chunky men came in, carrying spears. Tigla's father and brother. Och, what have we here? The older man demanded. A unicorn, the younger man exclaimed, and one of Noah's sons. Well, well. He moved towards Sandy and the unicorn, then drew back with a sharp intake of breath. You, young giant, he shouted. Come along. We want you. Sorry, Sandy said. You can't have me. He looked at Japheth and the two men from Tigla's tent and wondered anew at how small they were. Tigla's father was made even short by his bowed legs. No wonder they had used the poison dart on him. In a fair struggle, they would never have captured him. Japheth's pleasant features were destroyed by anger. You've done enough harm. Get out of here. The tent was so small that the three little men were close together, with Sandy, his arms still about unicorn and mammoth, near enough to draw back at the odor of the men from Tigla's tent. Ox nuts to you, Tigla's brother said. Japheth glanced swiftly at Sandy, then in a reflex so swift and hardly seen motion, he drew one of the darts from his quiver and jabbed it into Sandy's arm. The two men from Tigla's tent shouted in surprise and anger. Tigla's father roared, What happened? Where Sandy and the unicorn and mammoth had been there was only a pile of filthy skins. Japheth replied calmly, They went out with the unicorn. Both men roared in frustration. Call him back, the bow-legged man said, or we'll kill you, the younger man threatened. And what good will that do you? Japheth demanded. You'll never get the stand back without me. Tigla's brother snarled deep in his throat and lunged at Japheth with a spear, but Higayon jumped between them, tripping the red-bearded man so that he sprawled on the floor of the tent. He snarled up at his father. Why didn't you stop him? Me? What could I do? You let him go out with the unicorn and our mammoth too. Tigla's brother scrambled clumsily to his feet, hefting a spear. Give us your father's vineyards then. No, Japheth said, and reached for his darts. But the older man swooped on him with a spear, and despite Japheth's quick reflex, the spear cut across his ribs, and a trickle of blood slid down his side. Higayon lunged at the man, trumpeting in outrage. But the two men with their spears were too much for Japheth and the mammoth. Japheth clutched his wounded side as the mammoth lunged again and was viciously kicked by Tigla's brother. Suddenly, a roar burst over them. Hungry! And the manticore stuck his hideous face into the tent. Hungry! Go away! Tigla's father yelled. In terror, Higayon backed up, hitting the skins of the tent, which gave slightly. Japheth, trying to reach for the mammoth, saw the skins were not pegged securely to the ground. Now many people bothered to set up their tents as well as Noah and grandfather Lamech. Run, Hig, run! Japheth commanded, and Higayon backed out of the tent. Hungry! The manticore's ugly face was followed by his lion's body and scorpion's tail. Japheth was the farthest of the three men from the tent flap. He reached for a dart in his tiny bow, let a dart fly to strike the manticore in the forehead. Hung! The manticore started and fell unconscious on Tigla's father and brother. Swiftly, Japheth dropped to his knees and pushed out the opening in the rear of the tent through which Higayon had left. The mammoth was waiting outside, whimpering in terror but not willing to leave Japheth completely. Run! Japheth shouted as he stood upright, and they ran without looking behind them, onto the desert. And then the illusion that Rofakil had set was broken, and Japheth knew exactly where they were. They were at the far end of the oasis, the opposite end from Grandfather Lamech's tent home. He hardly realized that blood was streaming down his side as he hurried toward home. Admael the camel, Anachil the giraffe, and Akatril the owl left their posts and followed Japheth and the mammoth into the desert. Japheth, running faster than he had ever run before, suddenly felt dizzy. Everything paled. He slumped slowly onto the sand. He again pushed his feet against rocks to slow himself down. Akatril flew down to the sand beside the young man and resumed his seraph form. He has lost much blood. He is still bleeding. Anachil the giraffe bent his neck to look at Japheth's wound, then lowered himself so that he could reach the torn skin with his tongue. Carefully, thoroughly, he licked the wound. Admael the camel galloped off. Higan hunkered down beside Japheth and the giraffe, whimpering. Anachil continued to lick clean the jagged cut the spear had made. When it was clean, Admael returned with a furry-looking cactus-type leaf, which he gently pressed against the wound, holding it until the bleeding slowed and stopped. Japheth, quivering, opened his eyes to see the seraphim reaching up out of their host and into their seraphic forms. Akatril, with eyes as wide as those of the owl he had just left, affirmed, "You are all right. You have lost much blood, and that spearhead cannot have been too clean. But Anachil has washed the wound, and Admael has stopped the bleeding. And you ran too quickly." Anachil nodded. Higan touched Japheth's hand gently with his trunk tip. "Sand?" Anachil asked. "What happened?" "I sent him out with the unicorn," Japheth said, struggling to sit up. Admael nodded approval. "That was good." "Should we call the sand back?" Japheth asked. "Better," Anachil said. Admael asked courteously of the mammoth, "Will you or shall I?" "Both." Anachil was peremptory. With the light briefly bright as the sun, making them all blink, the unicorn appeared. Sandy's arm slid from around his neck, and he slipped onto the sand. A mangy mammoth tumbled beside him. Japheth explained, "I used one of my darts on him, but it's a very short-lasting..." Sandy's eyes blinked open, and he sat up. The three seraphim stood looking at Japheth, Sandy, and the two mammoths. "Thank you," Sandy gasped. "Oh, Jay, thank you." Embarrassed, Japheth shrugged. "What's happened to you?" Sandy demanded. "You're hurt." "I'll be all right," Japheth reassured him. "The seraphim have cleaned my wound." "Go home," Admael ordered. "Sandy, you can help Japheth. He is weaker than he realizes." "But what happened?" Sandy demanded. Japheth laughed. "I never thought I'd be grateful to a Manticore, but I am now. They have killed me, and the Manticore had to push its way into the tent and stop them." The mangy little mammoth pressed against Sandy. "It's all right," Sandy reassured. "We'll never send you back. What happened to them?" Japheth shrugged. "Nothing I suspect," Agatril said. "I saw the Manticore running away, weeping, a dart falling from his forehead, calling out that he was hungry." Japheth laughed again. "I could almost feel sorry for the Manticore. Go now," Admael urged. "Japheth needs food and rest." "Unicorn?" Sandy asked. "What about you?" As he looked, the unicorn began to flicker, to fade. Japheth said, "The unicorn knows we don't need it anymore." Where the unicorn had been, there was only a shimmer in the air and the scent of moonbeams and silver. They were united in the big tent that evening. Japheth, hovered over by Matred, lay on a pile of soft skins, pale but smiling, and sipped at the strengthening broth Matred kept offering him. The starved mammoth had been fed and lay curled up with Higan and Sela. Sandy and Dennys kept grinning at each other in relief, with Sandy repeating over and over his praise of Japheth and Higan. It was a wonderful idea to have Higgy sent for me. I don't know what would have happened otherwise. I now look subdued. I am so ashamed that my father and my brother, that my sister should have tried. I thought she liked the sand. I don't know what got into any of them. Can you forgive me? It was not your doing, daughter, Noah said gently. But to fate may try to force you to give up your vineyards, to to threaten to kill the Sand and Japheth. Don't dwell on it, Matron said, rubbing ointment Oholabama had given her onto the healing wound on Japheth's side. Is it over? Elisheba asked. Or will they try something else? I don't mean your father and brother, Anna, the Nephilim. Nobody answered. Sandy held his bowl out for a refill. It is so much better than what Tigla cooked for me. I wonder how I could eat the other stuff, even when it was fresh. Then he said, Rothakiel the Nephil used Tigla and her father and brother. They are not nice people. Sorry, Anna. But I don't think they'd ever have thought of kidnapping me on their own. If the Nephilim are after Dennys and me, they'll try something else. But why are they after you? Japheth demanded. Sandy finished licking his bowl clean. They know we don't belong here. Noah's fingers moved against his beard. But you do, both of you. But Dad made me see that being stubborn was not brave. Matron added, and you both made Grandfather Lamech's last moons happy ones. Noah had tears in his eyes. You were to him as his own grandsons. He could not have stayed in his own tent without your help. You have become our beloved twins. Matron wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. And yet, husband, you have said that there is no room for them in the ark. Dennys said quickly, don't worry, we know we don't belong in the ark. The Nephilim are entirely wrong about us. Sandy said, but we'd be glad to help you build it. We would like to do at least that much for you, because you've been very kind to us. Yelef and Oholabama sat close together, hands clasped. Oholabama said, we still have time to be together. It will take at least 2 moons before the ark is finished and ready to stack. And because we have known each other, we can never be entirely separated. Japheth said, as we can never be completely separated from Grandfather Lamech. Yelef nodded, pushed back tears. Sandy was safely back with them. Japheth was wounded, but was going to be all right. This was no time for tears. Dennys looked at Japheth and nodded. The night that Grandfather Lamech died, how long ago it seems, Higgaion and I sat out under the stars while Noah was in the tent waiting for Sandy. He hesitated, then plunged on. At the moment that Grandfather Lamech died, the stars held their breaths, and so I knew. And then, because he understood Higgaion and I needed him, Admiral was with us saying, fear not, and then he was back in the scarab beetle on Higgaion's ear instead of off of the other seraphim as he's been so often lately. There was a moment of silence. Then Noah opened a fresh skin of wine. My love for all of you is too deep for words. Dear twins, we are glad that you have come to us, and now it is time for you to leave, isn't it? Sandy said firmly, not until we've helped you build the ark. Sandy and Dennys stayed in the big tent, having been given sleeping skins and a place to themselves across from Noah and Matron. Higgaion and Stila slept with the little mammoth, whose ribs were beginning to fill out and whose coat was beginning to shine. Dennys woke up, and the darkness of the tent was heavy. Around him, he heard gentle snores and the night sounds of the desert. He nudged Sandy. Are you awake? Almost. Now what? Sandy wriggled into a more comfortable position. We'll keep on helping Noah with the ark. And then, fully awake now, Sandy moved so that he could whisper directly into Dennys' ear. We'll take a quantum leap. And how do we manage that? It came to me when the mammoth and I called the unicorn to be in that nasty little tent where I was in prison. The Nephilim cannot leave this earth, but the seraphim can. More to the point, Dennys asked, can we? Or rather, can we leave this time and get back to our own? I wouldn't want to miscalculate and land in the Middle Ages or the year 3003. I'll have to speak to Admiral about it again. You already have? Some. When we first got here, what I think would work for us would be to call unicorns and ride them, and for Admiral or any of the seraphim to go forward to our time, and then call for the unicorns to come back. Wild, Dennys whistled. Yes, but it worked when the three seraphim called me back onto the desert sand after Japheth and Haggai came to rescue me. That was space, not time, and a small distance in space at that, Dennys pointed out. True, but experiments with photons, for instance, seem to show that they can communicate with each other instantaneously. And that means faster than the speed of light. And distance doesn't seem to be a problem for them. But it's time we have to worry about, Dennys whispered. Noah snored a very loud snore, and they could hear him turn over on his skins. Dennys continued, if I understand Mother's experiments, an observer is essential in the world of quantum mechanics. I mean, an observer seems to be necessary to make quanta real. Sandy moved impatiently. I don't understand it, but Mother seems to, and so do a lot of other particle physicists. That's enough for me. I'll talk to Admiral. There was a heavy silence. Then Dennys said, anything seems to be possible. I hope this is. Another silence. Then Sandy asked, do you think we could take Yellow with us? Dennys did not answer for a while. Then, no, I don't think so. We're not supposed to change history. But she'll drown. I know. I love her too. At last, it had been said. But if we love her... Dennys's voice was bleak. I don't think we can take her with us. Sandy reached for his twin's hand and grasped it. A lot of people are going to drown. Would you mind changing history if it would save Yalith? Dennys said, I wouldn't mind. I'd be willing to try. To try absolutely anything. But I have a feeling that we can't. I hate it. Shh. I hate it too. Sandy whispered, it's going to be dangerous taking a quantum leap. Dad obviously thinks such things are possible. After all, wasn't he programming some kind of quantum leap or tester when we messed around with his experiment? So, if he believes in it, it's not that wild. Sure, it's that wild. It's gotta be that wild in order to work. Sandy gave a slightly hysterical laugh. Our father was not programming unicorns into his experiment. Haggai jerked in a sleeping dream, whimpered. Sela made little murmuring noises, and Tigla's mammoth moved closer to the others. Sandy asked, what about the mammoths? Dennys stretched his arm out so that he could touch, gently, Haggai's shaggy fur. I wonder if they can swim. It wouldn't do any good. Not for 40 days and 40 nights. Dennys closed his eyes. Listen. Heard the wind high in the sky above the tent, but the words would not come clear. He whispered, Does Yellow know she's not going on the ark? I think so. I think Noah has told her. I understand that floods and other disasters happen, but if this flood is really being sent by El, Sandy said, if it's being sent by El, but I don't like El, none of Yellow is going to drown. The wind murmured. We aren't sure yet, are we? Dennys asked. I mean, it hasn't happened yet. Yellow isn't in the story, so we don't know what happened to her. Grandfather Lamech truly loves his El, so we can't be sure. Grandfather loved Yellow. She was his very favorite. Grandfather is dead, Sandy said flatly. If we're going to be any use building the ark, we better sleep now. The wind wrapped itself about the tent. Sandy slipped quickly into sleep. Dennys lay on his back, listening. The wind's song was gentle, unalarming. Although he could not make out the words, he felt the wind calming him. Slat. Stupid, Ogil, husband of Mala, hissed. Rofikil's contempt came out with a mosquito shrill. The idiots almost... let the Manticore get them. Tigla would have done better by herself, said Ablis, who wanted Yalith. Trail. Sometimes a rat demanded, what do we do now? The Nephilim were gathered in the darkness of the desert for once conserving their energies. Nama, still sounding like a vulture, went... Tigla did not, in fact, do better than her father or her brother. She got no answers. The young giant did not listen to her. Ella's chef of the crocodile green wings shimmered in the starlight. She tried. I would have thought the stand would find her irresistible. Why did he reject her? Yalith, Eblis's beautiful red lips lifted in a sneer. Ugyl wove his neck in a rhythmic dance, as much cobra as Nephil. You are right, because of Yalith. But she has no experience, Ruffikil shrilled. She is still a child, whereas Tigla, no, Eblis contradicted, purple eyes glittering. Yalith is not a child any longer. He wrapped purple wings about himself. Could we have used her? Estelle, sometimes a cockroach, asked doubtfully. If Ugyl hadn't married her, we might have been able to use Mala, Yala's sister, said Ezequin, who chose with a skank. Ugyl hissed, we all know she's Yala's sister, and my wife, and the mother of my child. Eblis wrapped himself in wings the color of the sunset. It is time for us to act. Us, ourselves. Roxiel agreed. It is time we stop using deputies. Rumjaw grimaced. What do you suggest? Nama stretched his neck, naked as the vultures, and raised his wings to their full span, standing in whiteness of skin, darkness of wing, his feathers the indigo of the bird who was his host. The circle of extinction. Whoever we completely surround, we control. Let us surround the twin giants. Ugyl hissed in agreement. Ruffikil strolled in anticipation. Eblis suggested, and let us surround Yalith since she has foiled our plans. Nama reproved, the giants first.